chemical reactions. So our objectives for today is to classify a reaction as combination, decomposition, singular placement, double displacement, or combustion, and to predict the products and balance their reaction. So we have 5 different types of reaction. Wait. Chemical reaction is a process in which one or more substance, the reactants, are converted to one or more different substances, the products. Substances can be a chemical element or compound. The first reaction is combination, also known as synthesis, a reaction in which two or more substances combine to form a single new substance. The second one is decomposition reaction, a reaction in which a compound breaks down into two or more simpler substances. Third one is the singular replacement reaction, a reaction in which one element replaces a similar element in a compound. Double displacement reaction, a reaction in which the positive and negative ions of two ionic compounds exchange place to form two new compounds. And for the last one, combustion reaction, a reaction in which a substance reacts with oxygen gas, releasing energy in the form of light and heat. So we were given 10 reactants to predict their products and balance their chemical reaction. And for the first two reactants, may I call in Miss Gapa?
So let's proceed to number 1. So the original given formula in number 1 is Mg plus O2. So the first thing we do is to identify the chemical reaction of Mg plus O2. So we identify it as a synthesis reaction. So after we identify the chemical reaction, we need to predict the product of Mg plus O2. So in predicting the product, first thing we do is to identify the elements here in the given formula. So the elements here are the Mg, which is the magnesium, and the oxygen. So magtingin tayo sa natin sa periodic table, then we find the charges of magnesium and oxygen. So since the charge of magnesium is 2 and the oxygen is 2, so it is equal to 0. So we directly write MgO. So sa rule, kapag equals to 0, we direct na natin siya i-write. Pero pag hindi siya equals to 2, we do the crisscross. So the as we predict the product, our answer is MgO, or magnesium oxide. Then after we predict the product, we do the balancing. First thing we do again is to write the elements found in the formula, which is the magnesium and oxygen. Then isulat natin kung ilan ang magnesium sa formula. First, sa una na chemical formula, the magnesium is 1. Then the oxygen is 2. Then dito sa kabila, the magnesium is 1 and the oxygen is 2. So hindi siya balance kasi sa isa ang oxygen is 2, ang isa 1. So kailangan natin siya i-balance. So we put 2 here para mag-balance siya, ma'am. Kapag gilagyan natin na siya ng 2 dito, the magnesium becomes 2. Then we put another 2 here. So the magnesium becomes 2 again. The oxygen is 2. And the other one, the oxygen becomes 2. So na-balance na po siya. So number 2 is the given formula here is CaCO3. So we identify it as a decomposition reaction. So as we predict the product, our answer is Ca plus CO3. So, hindi na natin siya kailangan i-balance, ma'am, kasi it is already balanced. So, I am giving the floor to Miss Salinas to continue the reporting.
So for number 3, the Li plus NaCO3 is no reaction because of activities of metals. And for number 4,
What happened?
Wait
Nawala.
lang.
Nawala siya. Let us wait for a minute. Baka nawala lang sandali.
Sige, ako na lang mag-explain dito, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am. Magsulat. Maggamit ako ng pen, ma'am. Ako lang
Okay.
makagamit ng pen, ma'am. Kaya I think yung naka-share screen lang atang makagamit ng pen, ma'am.
Actually, yeah, sige. Okay.
Sige. So for number 2, our number 2 is single replacement reaction. So pag single replacement reaction, it's mag-change siya ng kinakabahan ako. Mag-change siya ng partner, pero we have to look first sa activity series of metal. So sa activity series of metal, mas mataas ang oxidation ni potassium kaysa sa magnesium. So therefore, i-change mo siya. It's okay na either mauna ang magnesium bago ka mag-potassium and OH, or either mauna ang potassium OH plus magnesium. So, ang first mong gawin is to list down the elements. So, ang first element is potassium, then magnesium, and OH. So, kung na-interchange na siya, para malaman natin kung may subscript ba or wala, i-identify natin ang charges nila. Tapos kung mag-equals to 0, it means constant na yan and walang subscript. And wait lang po. Sorry, mahirap sa MG. So, for a while lang po. So, our charge for potassium is based sa periodic table is positive 1. Sorry guys, naging H na. Is positive 1. Layo kayo. And sa ating hydroxide is -1. So, +1 minus -1 is equal to 0. Then, ang magnesium natin is +2. So, wala man siyang so copy na lang. So, ang final product natin is potassium hydroxide plus magnesium. So, actually, written na siya dito kasi ang gisulat namin daan is ang predict na ang product and the balance na ang chemical reaction. So, kung magtingin tayo dito, i-disregard muna natin ang coefficients. So, for ang next step is i-identify natin ang subscripts ng elements sa reactant side and sa product side. So, ulit, disregard muna natin ang subscripts. So, for potassium ng reactant side, we have 1. Magnesium ng reactant side, we have 1. And sa hydroxide ng reactant side is 2. Wait lang, bakit 2? Nawan man ang Sorry, ma'am. So, 1. So, padayon ta. So, ang hindi balance dito ang hydrogen. So, para ma-balance siya, since 2 na ang hydrogen dito sa reactant side, magdagdag tayo ng 2 sa product side. So, 2. Gilagyan namin ng 2. So, ang nadamay dito na element is potassium. So, therefore, lagyan din natin ng, so, naging 2 na to. So, cross out 2. Tapos, nadamay ang potassium, lagyan natin ng 2 dito. So, naging 2 ang reactant side ng potassium and naging 2 din ang subscript ng product side. So, yan naman, balance na. I-remove ko lang po. So, for the next item, yan.
Ako na, Chris.
Yes po.
Okay, good morning. So, item number 5 is a combustion reaction. The chemical formula given is C3H8 plus 5O2. Ang combustion reaction is yung substance na nag-react sa oxygen gas. So, ang ilagay namin is CO2 plus H2O. Kasi, bakit siya naging CO2? Kasi, hindi man zero ang equal, ang charges niya. So, i-criss-cross. Same sa H2O. So, i-list down natin ang mga elements. Meron tayong carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Sa kabila, meron tayong 3 carbon. Tapos sa kabila, CO2 lang man yan siya. So, gilagyan natin ng 3 sa unahan ng ng carbon. So, 3 na siya. Cancel out natin yung 1. Sa H, merong 8 na H sa kabila. Pero sa kabila, it's 1 lang. So, gilagyan natin siya ng 4. Hindi kasi ako makasulat. So, gilagyan natin ng 4 sa tabi ay sa gilid ng H. 4 times 2, yung sa subscript is 8. So, equal na yung H. Ngayon, sa oxygen, sa kabila, 5 times 2, may 10 na oxygen sa kabila. Sa kabila is, dalawa man oxygen natin, nandun sa CO2, tsaka nandun sa H2O. Sa product tayo guys sa kabila may 3 na oxygen, tapos may subscript na 2. So gi-times natin yung 3 sa subscript na oxygen na 2, so 6. Sa kabila naman may 4 na oxygen. So 6 plus 4. So 10, so balance na sila, 10 na sila pareho. Gets nyo guys? Okay lang.
Sige.
Sige, number 6 na tayo.
Opo.
Like, item number 6 is a double displacement reaction. The chemical formula is Al2O3 plus 6NaCl. Sa double displacement reaction is, di ba, ano man yun? Wait lang. Ang formula niya is parang AB plus CD. Di ba? ang A natin dyan is ang Al. Ang B natin is ang O3. Tapos ang C natin is 6Na. Ang D natin is Cl. So sa formula sa double displacement, i-combine mo daw ang AD tsaka CB sa product. Ano ganun yung A natin? Al. So Al ang ilagay natin sa A. Tapos i-combine mo sa D. Ang D natin sa reactant is ang Cl. So ang nandun na sa kabila sa product side is AlCl. Tapos ayan. Tapos sa plus, ang i-combine mo sa kabila is CB. Ang C natin is ang Na. Tapos ang B natin is ang oxygen. So ayan na. AD tsaka CB. Ngayon, i-list down na natin ang mga elements, which is aluminum, oxygen, sodium, tsaka chlorine. Sa kabila, sa reactant, meron tayong dalawang aluminum. Sa kabila is isa lang, sa product side is isa lang. So, gilagyan natin ng 2. May subscript na Cl3 yung sa baba, guys, sa product side kasi i-criss-cross natin. Kasi yung charges nila is hindi equal to 0. So, saan na ganyan ko? May dalawa na tayong Al ay aluminum, so equal na siya. Sa sa oxygen is may 3 tayong oxygen sa reactant side. Tapos may isa lang man tayo ng oxygen sa kabila, so i-add natin ng 3 doon sa tabi ng Na sa may product. So 3 na sila. Kasi madamay man yan sila lahat pag nandyan ang number. So 3 na, so balance na ang oxygen. Now let's proceed sa sodium, which is Na. Sa reactant side, meron tayong 6 na Na. Sa kabila is 3. Tama. Tama ba? Tapos, meron man siyang subscript na 2 kasi galing siya sa oxygen, sa charge ng oxygen kasi criss-cross man natin siya. So, 3 times 2 is 6. So, 6 na sila pareho. So, balance na sila. Last is the chlorine, the Cl. Ang sa kabila is may 6 sila kasi nga may 6 doon sa may Na. So, damay man yan sila lahat. So, 6. Sa kabila is may 3. Tapos may 2 man siya sa La. Damay man yan ng Cl. So, 2 times 3 is 6. So, balance na sila lahat. Gets nyo, guys? Okay lang. Thank you. Sige, next is, sino ganyan next?
Ako na ang
Chris.
next. Ako na ang next. So, good morning to all. Number 7, ZnSO4 plus H2, no reaction. These reactants will have no reaction because hydrogen cannot exchange to zinc since zinc is more reactive and hydrogen is less reactive based on the activity series of metal. So then these reactants is single displacement reaction. Number 8, FeCl3 plus 3NaOH yields to FeOH3 plus 3NaCl. This is a double displacement reaction since one compound is reacting to another one compound, creating two new compounds. So for predicting the products, reactants will exchange partners. The positive charge will partner the negative charge. So Fe was partnered to OH since Fe has positive 3 charge and OH has negative 1 charge. And since they are not equal to 0, we will do crisscross on them. So we have FeOH3. Then Na was partnered to Cl since Na has positive 1 and Cl is negative 1. And since they are equal to 0, we will not do crisscross on them anymore. So we have a product of FeOH3 plus NaCl. After that, we can already do the balancing. The Fe has already one atom on both sides. So equal na sila. In Cl, it has 3 atoms on the reactant side, while in the product side has 1 atom. So we will add 3 in NaCl to balance the Cl. And since Na has already 3 atoms on product side, and 1 atom on reactant side, we will add 3 again in the NaOH. Then OH has already 3 atoms on both sides. Therefore, we already achieved the balanced chemical equation. So we have FeCl3 plus 3NaOH yields to FeOH3 plus 3NaCl. That's all. Number 9 and 10 will be reporting by Mr. Hernales.
So for number 9, this is also double displacement reaction. So ang formula niya is again is AB plus CD is equal yields to AD and CB. Wait lang po, na-exit. Yeah. So for the first step ulit, let's write down the elements and to know kung may magbe-base kung may subscript pa or wala. So first is i-write natin ang ammonium. Or please bear with me kay lisod kaayo. Gamit lang ang laptop. Then ang sulfate. SO4. Sunod ang sodium. And bicarbonate. So i-identify natin ang charges nila. Ammonium has positive 1 and sulfate has negative 2. Sodium is positive 1 also, and bicarbonate as negative 1. So ang nangyari dito is So ang nangyari dito i-interchange, 'di ba, ang ano? So before natin i-identify ang subscript nila, parang i-interchange muna natin ang partner nila. Always talaga mag-partner ang positive and negative, positive, negative. So pag i-write down mo na 'yan, ang final i-write down mo na 'yan, ang final product natin is ammonium Sorry. Wait. Ayan. Ammonium bicarbonate dapat may 3 pala dito. Sorry. Plus ay, plus sodium and sulfate. Ayan, guys. Yan. Wait lang po. So, correction po guys, negative 2 pala ang charge ng sulfate. So, partner man sila ng sodium, pag hanapin mo kung ang subscript nila, positive 1 minus negative 2 is positive 1. So, hindi siya 0. So, therefore, mag-criss-cross siya, ang 1 malipat sa subscript ng sulfate. So, 1 lang man siya, hindi na natin siya ilagay talaga. And sa 2, ang subscript ay ang charge ng 2 maging subscript ng sodium. So, may 2 pala to dapat dito. So, next step, para i-balance natin, to balance the reaction, isulat natin ulit ang ito na pala, sorry. I-write down natin ulit ang elements and alamin ang kanilang mga charges. So for ammonium, we have 2 sa reactant side. For sulfate, we have 1. Sodium, we have 2. 1. I'm sorry. 1. And sa ating bicarbonate, we have 1. So, sa product side, which is kare, and kare. Dito tayo mag-base kasi mas malinis. So, sa product side, i-disregard muna natin ang coefficient. So, sa product side, we have ang ammonium natin is 1. Since wala na siyang subscript. Meron siya subscript pero hindi siya nag-undergo ng criss-cross. So, 1 tayo mag-base. Sunod for ating sulfate, 1 din. Sa ating sodium, we have 2. Dapat 2 dito. So, 2. And sa ating bicarbonate, we have 1. So, ang hindi balance dyan, ang iyong sulfate, ang iyong ammonium, and ang sodium, and bicarbonate. So, the first thing that we have to do is to balance. So, since 2 ang nasa reactant side, and 1 ang sa product side, mag-add tayo ng 2 sa reactant side. So, naging 2 to dito. So, ano ang nadamay na element? Ang sodium. So, naging 2 tong ammonium, naging 2 din ang reactant side ng sodium. Excuse me. Since, so balance na ang sodium, and balance na ang ammonium. Tapos sa bicarbonate naman, we have 1 here and 1 here. So nadamay siya dito. Nadamay siya sa paglagay mo ng 2, nadamay siya sa ammonium mo. So ang product side mo naging 2. And when it comes here, nadamay din ang ang bicarbonate mo sa sodium. So, naging 2 na din siya. Therefore, balance na siya. Okay, for the last item, we have silver nitrate and aluminum fluoride. So, the first thing we have to do ulit is to list down the elements. So, we have silver, and nitrate, we also have aluminum and fluorine. So ulit, i-identify natin ang charges nila. So silver has +1, nitrate has -1, aluminum, +3, and our fluorine is -1. So ulit, ang mag-partner is positive and negative, positive and negative. So ang nag-partner na dyan is ang silver fluoride so para malaman siya kung may subscript o wala, again, dapat mag-equal siya to 0. So +1 minus -1 is equal to 0. So therefore, wala siyang subscript. So pag walang pag equal to 0, matik, i-write down na natin diretso ang element. So dito naman ang nagpartner is ang aluminum and nitrate. Aluminum has 3 charges, and nitrate has -1. So hindi man siya ma-equal to 0, i-crisscross natin siya. So ang -1 mapunta sa aluminum, and ang +3 mapunta sa nitrate. Again, pag non-metal to non-metal, mali pala, I'm sorry. Nitrate. So, pag nagdoble na ang subscript, lagyan natin ng parenthesis. Yan. So, yan na ang final product mo. Ay, sorry, wala ko nasulat ang aluminum. Please bear with me, guys. So, proceed na tayo sa balancing. Ulit, i-identify natin ang subscripts ng reactant side and ng product side. So, sa reactant side muna tayo una. For silver, we have 1. For nitrate, we also have 1. Aluminum, we have 1. And sa fluorine, we have 3. Sa product side naman, for silver, we have 1. For nitrate, we have 3. Bakit negative? We have 3. Sorry, lutang ako guys. Tapos, for aluminum, we have 1. And for fluorine, we have 1 also. So, ang hindi balance dyan is ang silver, nitrate, and fluorine. So, for silver, since 1 ang nasa reactant side, and 1 din sa... Ay, balance pala to. Balance pala to. Ang hindi lang talaga balance dyan is ang NO3. So, para maging balance, since naging 3 na ang subscript ng product side, lagyan mo din ng 3 dito. So, ito na siya, itong coefficient. So, naging 3 na ang product side. Naging 3 na ang reactant side rather, and naging 3 na din ang silver ng reactant side. So, cancel. Then, sunod, balance na ang yung nitrate. Ang hindi na naman balance ang silver. So, Sa fluorine tayo muna. So sa fluorine, since 1 lang ang ang subscript ng product side and 3 sa reactant side, gawin natin 3 ang here sa reactant side. So naging 3 na siya dito, cancel. So nadamay ang silver, so maging 3 din to dito. So yan, balance na siya, guys. Thank you. I-remove ko muna before tayo mag-proceed. Gets, guys? Or ako lang? Dili po na ako maanong taro.
I'll explain that later again.
So, ma'am. Hindi kasi ako makayos type, ma'am. Mahirap. Walang...
That's okay.
Sige, erase muna natin. So that's the 10 reactants na gipredict namin ang products and gibalance ang chemical reactions. So, proceed tayo sa guide questions to be reported by Ms. Perez. Yan.
Good morning, Mom. Guide questions. What is activity series metals? The activity series metals is a list of metals and their half reactions arranged in order, decreasing loss of oxidation or increasing ability to take an exertion. Number 2, list down the arrangement of metals as stated in the activity series of metals. Potassium, sodium, lithium, barium, strontium, calcium, magnesium, manganese, chromium, iron, cadmium, cobalt, nickel, tin, lead, hydrogen, antimony, bismuth, copper, mercury, silver, gold, platinum. Next, please.
Yun na. Done na yun?
Yeah, okay. So, please, ma'am.
Nawala mo siya, ma'am.
Let's wait for him. Or naamoy uban groupmates din na na-copy sa report. We can do the screen sharing.
Nakita po siya, ma'am.
Ipadako lang.
Okay. Conclusion. While doing this activity, we've learned a lot about chemical reactions and their types, and how to predict the product of reactions and to balance their equations. Chemical reactions are the most important types of events in the universe. It's the chemical reactions that plants grow, products fruits, and become composed for new products. It allows human being reproduce, digest, grow, heat, and shrink. Thank you po.
Okay. Pakibalik sa first, sa number 1. Ayan. Let us check. Ayan, number 1. Let us check, class, if the answers here na na-report are correct. And also for the non-reporters to know whether your submissions are also correct. So for number 1, you have there 2 magnesium plus oxygen. Yan yung given. Now, how will you know that this is really a synthesis reaction? For the synthesis reaction class, kailangan you have an element combining with another element. Always yan siya ganyan yung given. Again, an element combining with another element, or pwedeng tatlong elements, 2 or more elements combining with each other. That's how you know that it is a synthesis reaction. So for this case, you have magnesium plus oxygen. Magnesium is an element and then oxygen is also an element. Now, to give emphasis to this, bakit merong 2 yan si oxygen na subscript? Now remember, our mnemonics, Birchnoff or Birchnoff. So whatever na gamitin nyo, anyway, parehas lang naman yan. Ito yung tinatawag nating diatomic molecules. Again, ito yung tinatawag nating diatomic molecules wherein these elements, if they are uncombined to other elements, meaning hindi sila nakakombine or free sila from other elements, always silang nag-e-exist na diatomic. So ano to sila? B is for bromine, I is iodine, C is actually not carbon, it's actually chlorine, H is hydrogen, N is nitrogen, O oxygen, and lastly F is fluorine. So again, diatomic molecules yan sila. Now, in this case, you have here again the given magnesium plus oxygen. So element plus element, automatic, this is a synthesis reaction, meaning they will be combining to form a compound. So yan yung goal natin sa synthesis reaction. We will form a compound. So ang gagawin ninyo is ipagtabi nyo yung mga symbols ng mga elements natin. But I think I have given you instruction last time not to copy the subscript. Okay? Again, I have given you an instruction not to copy the subscript because the subscripts are to be determined using the charges of the combining elements. So you have to check first whether you need a subscript for magnesium oxide or not. So for magnesium oxide, let me just write it here. Diba, pag i-check natin yung charges nila, magnesium is +2, oxygen is -2. And if we add this is equal to 0. Now, if this is equal to 0, no need to do a crisscross, which means that we don't need a subscript also here. Meaning MgO is already correct. That's how you know whether your chemical formula for the product or the products are correct or not. So this time, MgO is correct. And the next thing that you will do is to balance the equation. So as you can see on the screen, anong ginawa nila? They listed all the elements here, Mg and O. And then you have to identify also how many atoms are existing in our chemical equation. 1 for magnesium, 2 for oxygen. This is for the original one, the unbalanced one. 1 magnesium and 1 oxygen on the product na side. So ang balancing, hindi natin pwedeng pakialaman si subscript. Instead, we will just use coefficient. And we will do the balancing using our trial and error method. So in this case, only oxygen is not balanced. So we will try to balance it. We will try to place it 2 here so that oxygen will be 2 here also. So 2 times 1 kasi yan siya. Kapag wala siyang subscript, it's automatic 1. So i-multiply natin yung subscript and coefficient. So 2 times 1 equals 2. Kaya lang since this one is a compound, meaning if you place a coefficient na 2 here, kasali si magnesium magiging 2. So hindi na ngayon balance si magnesium. That is why lalagyan natin siya ng coefficient na 2 sa reactant na side. So this time, this is already balanced. So for number 1, this is correct, class. So again, for number 1, this is correct. 2 molecules of magnesium plus 1 molecule of oxygen will yield 2 molecules of magnesium oxide. So that's how you predict the product for the synthesis reaction, and that is how you balance it. Questions for number 1? Alin dyan yung hindi naintindihan? Nag-brown out. Okay, sige. Kaya siya nawala. Walang question for number 1. Now, how about number 2? Let's try to answer number 2. Anyone here who has a different answer for number 2? Different ha? Hindi calcium and carbonate. Or ito, ganito lahat yung answers niyo. Magkaparehas kayo ng answer. Walang ibang answer. So let's try. The given there is only one compound, calcium carbonate. Yan lang talaga ang given, right? And that is actually a hint for you na this one will be a decomposition reaction because it is the complete opposite of number 1. Number 1, you have there an element forming one compound. You will only have one compound for the product. This time, you have one compound for the reactant, which means magde-decompose siya. Magse-separate siya into its components. So, automatic yan siya, decomposition reaction. But, for decomposition reaction, you need to see to it na the products will be stable compound or stable element. So, hindi naman class necessary na talagang magde-decompose siya into the different elements na nag-exist dyan sa compound na yan. For example, in this case, you have actually 3 elements here. Calcium, carbon, and oxygen. Okay, sige, Chris. Again, you have 3 elements there. Pero pag magde-decompose kasi si calcium carbonate, carbonate there is a polyatomic ion. And 'di ba, pag polyatomic ion na CO3, meron yan siyang charge na -2. Meaning hindi yan siya stable and hindi yan siya mag-exist in your equation, or if we are doing the experiment, it will not really exist as ion. So kailangan mo yan siya class hanapan ng paraan that the products will be either a stable element or a stable compound. When I say stable element or stable compound, yung walang charge. So anong gagawin natin? First, magde-decompose yan siya into calcium, pero hindi pwedeng carbonate class. Again, hindi pwedeng carbonate because carbonate has a charge. So it can be calcium, and let's try to get one oxygen there from carbonate. Ilalagay natin siya with calcium. Anong maiiwan? From CO3, nag-1 ka, anong maiiwan? Diba? It's carbon dioxide. And carbon dioxide is a stable compound. Again, carbon dioxide is a stable compound. So this one is the more correct answer for number 2. Because number 1, unang reason, calcium oxide is a stable element. But you need to check whether you need a subscript or not here. Calcium is +2. Oxygen is -2. This is equal to 0. Thus, this one is already correct. You have calcium oxide there, CaO, which means also na this one, the carbon dioxide, is also correct. CO2 is carbon dioxide. It's a stable compound. So ang ang decomposition, it's not necessary na paghiwalayin mo siya sa lahat ng mga components niya na element, na meron kang calcium, tapos carbon, tapos oxygen. Pwede din naman kasi siyang mag-decompose, ang compound natin, pwede siyang mag-decompose sa compound pa rin, or compounds. kagaya nito. And ang gagawin na lang natin is to balance this. Or if this is already balanced, then this is good. So you have calcium, carbon, and oxygen here. And then calcium 1, carbon 1, oxygen 3. On the other side, 1 calcium, 1 carbon, and 3 oxygen. So this is already balanced. This is the correct answer for number 2. Okay? So again, hanapan nyo siya ng paraan na you will be getting either stable element or a stable compound. Questions for number 2? Again, this is the correct answer ha. Bakit hindi pwede itong answer ng group 1? Kasi carbonate is a polyatomic ion. Meron siyang charge, hindi siya stable. Kailangan stable ang ating magiging product or products. Walang question for number 2. So let's move on sa number 3. So for number 3, anong ginamit niyo dito? Let me check. Did I give you a list of the activity series of metal? Nagbigay ako. I forgot. I have.
Search lang kami, ma'am.
Nag-research lang kayo?
Yes po.
Okay, sige. Wait ha.
Saan mo YouTube video, ma'am?
Okay. Sige, let me check first. Because as far as I know, number 1 on the list should be lithium. Naghang akong laptop. Kaskadjot. Again, number 1 on the list should be lithium. So, this equation is actually possible. Di dapat siya NR. Kaya lang, kadyot lang yun. Kaya naghang akong laptop. Potassium, where is the lithium here? Let me check. Let me check. Okay, sige. Let's consider potassium as no, lithium is on the third third on the list siya. So sige, this one is no reaction. I just want to correct this one here. We have this is lithium plus Na2CO3. Mali lang yung nasa given sa ano ha. Anong tawag dyan? Sa activity nyo, sa papel. Yan lang yung gusto kong i-correct because remember, if we look at their charges, sodium is +1, carbonate is -2. So you have to do a crisscross here because you will not get a 0 when you add the positive and the negative charges. So, okay. ever since kasi when I was learning chemistry, there are lists na, basig ma-confuse mo, there are lists na lithium is the most reactive element. But I think nowadays, the list, wait lang, I'm still confused about this. Let me just, lithium is the smallest cation. We need a book, wait lang. Confirm ko lang na. Kasi ang research nyo, it's potassium. That is number 1 sa list. But ever since, I think it's lithium. Oh. Yeah, it should be lithium. Okay. Sige. Okay. Ano na lang, ganito. Sorry for the interruption. I was actually looking at references for the activity series of metal because again, ever since as I know about the activity series of metal, nauna si lithium sa kanilang lahat, which means siya yung pinaka-reactive. Kaya lang, there are also references na potassium is number 1. But reading most of the reliable sources, it's really lithium na nauna. Again, lithium talaga yung nauna dito, which means the reaction is actually possible. Wait, let me, yan, ulitin natin siya. Bonus. Bonus. Sige, I'll just give this one as bonus since anyway, this is a product of your research and I will not discredit that na nag-research kayo. So that's okay. But to correct na lang, let's be uniform and let's have lithium as number 1 sa inyong list. So since lithium yung number 1 dyan, this is actually possible. Again, gitarong nako ning chemical formula ni sodium carbonate kagainahan na siya tuna subscript. Now again, since the reaction is possible, this is correct, single replacement. What will happen? Sodium will be displaced. Mare-replace siya ni lithium. And this will become like this. Okay? LiCO3 plus Na. But this is not yet done because when you make a chemical formula, make it a habit class to check the charges so that you will be confident na yes, tama talaga ang chemical formula ninyo. Now, lithium belongs to group 1 in the periodic table. Thus, this is positive 1. And then carbonate, na-mention ko kanina, is negative 2. So this is not equal to 0. So thus we are going to do the crisscross, which means that lithium will take the 2 here as the subscript and carbonate will have 1. So this is the correct chemical formula for lithium carbonate. Now, as you can see, we don't place 2 as subscript for both lithium and sodium because they do not belong to the diatomic molecules. So nabigay ko kanina yung diatomic molecules na Birchnow or Birchnow. So hindi sila kasama doon. Now they can exist as single element. Now let's check whether this one is already balanced or not. So we have Li, Na, and when I balance an equation involving a polyatomic ion, I don't separate them. So I count that as one entity, carbonate. Kasi pag pinaghiwalay ko si carbon and si oxygen, matatagalan tayo class sa pag-balance. So, bakit hindi ko siya hiniwalay? Kasi carbonate here in the reactant na side is still carbonate on the product na side. So, again, I can consider the carbon and the oxygen as one entity. So, we have 1 lithium, 2 sodium, 1 carbonate. 1 carbonate yan ha kasi walang subscript. Okay? Now, Li, lithium on the other side is 2. 1 sodium and also 1 carbonate. You will only have a different number of atoms for the polyatomic ion if it is inside the open and closed parenthesis and meron kang subscript here. Okay? Pero pag wala class, it's considered 1. So hindi balance yung lithium natin. Let's start with lithium. So I'll place 2 here. And thus lithium becomes 2, while sodium is also not balanced. I'll be placing 2 also here. So this also becomes 2. At this time, this is already a balanced equation. Again, this is already a balanced equation. So for number 3, the correct answer is you have there 2 molecules of lithium reacting with 1 molecule of sodium carbonate. And then this will yield 1 molecule of lithium carbonate plus 2 molecules of sodium. This is for number 3. Any question or clarification for number 3? Wala. Wala pangutana sa number 3. Basta class, can you revise if you are doing, if you have your index cards now for the activity series of metal? If you can revise it, look for a reference na nauna si lithium, that will be the correct one. Hanapan niyo yung reference na lithium yung nauna. Okay. Paghingi. Okay, wait lang ha. Let me give you na lang the list. Saan mo na ko send? Save image. Wait lang. I'll send it na lang sa chat so that you can download it. Para uniform tayo. Yeah. Moto nangutan ako sa inyong hato. Napa ko ipakita that na list kasi I think I have given that also sa section C and then na-correct na ko siya sa inyo. Wala na ko siya na-correct. So hatagan na lang tamo. Anyway, I'll give this number 3 as bonus kasi I have a problem with the lithium. Slow kay to react ang akong laptop karong ano. One. Wait lang. Activity series of metal. Okay, gisend na ko sa chat ha. Tell me if dili ma-download. Okay na? So let us continue with number 4. You have there the given. Let me rewrite it. The given here is potassium plus magnesium hydroxide. Kapag ka ganito class na you have there an element plus a compound, automatic this is single replacement reaction ha. Again, pag potassium, pag element plus compound, single replacement reaction. And after that, ang gagawin ninyo is to look at the activity series of metal if the reaction is possible or not. Dapat yung ipapalit mo na element ay mas reactive kesa sa original element na nasa compound mo. Now look at your activity series of metal. Potassium is number 2 in the list, while magnesium is, I think, number 6 siya sa list, which means yes, the reaction is possible because potassium is more reactive than magnesium. Okay, ang nasa taas sa list ha ay mas reactive kaysa sa mga nasa baba sa list natin ng activity series of metal. So since this one is possible, ang papalitan ha ay yung yung metal. So sa magnesium hydroxide, ang metal dyan si magnesium. Kaya papalitan niya ni potassium. Now this will be OH, and then I told you not to copy the subscript because originally si hydroxide dyan ay may subscript na 2. Pero pag pinalitan na siya ni potassium, please do not copy the subscript because again, the subscript will be determined by their charges. And then ma-displace ngayon si magnesium. But we don't place a subscript for both potassium and magnesium na 2 because they don't belong to the diatomic molecules. Now, the next thing na gagawin is to check whether this KOH is correct or not by looking at their charges. So potassium is +1, hydroxide is -1. Wag niyong itapon muna yung index cards niyo for potassium hydroxide, for what you call that, polyatomic ions, kasi kakailanganin pa natin siya here in the balancing of chemical equation. So this is equal to 0, which means we don't need a subscript class for potassium hydroxide. Hindi natin kailangan. So this is already correct. The next thing na gagawin natin is magbabalance na lang. Potassium, magnesium, and again, hydroxide. For polyatomic ion, kapag parehas siya sa reactant and sa product na side, we don't separate. We don't separate the components. So we treat this as one moiety or one entity. So we have 1 potassium, 1, this is magnesium, and then 2 hydroxides because meron siyang subscript dyan na 2, 1, 1, and 1. So the hydroxide yung hindi balance. So I'll be placing 2 here as the coefficient. This will become 2. Now since this is a compound, kasama niya si potassium, kasama rin si potassium class na magiging 2. And then since balance na ito, balance din ito, si potassium na lang yung problema natin. So I'll place 2 there to make this 2 also. So tama yung answer ng ating reporters. You need 2 molecules of potassium to react with 1 molecule of magnesium hydroxide to yield 2 molecules of potassium hydroxide and 1 molecule of magnesium element. Okay, so that is for number 4. Now let's move on to number 5. Number 5. So number 5, automatic is a combustion reaction. What did I tell you about combustion reaction? You have there the oxygen, again, reacting with most likely a carbon-containing compound. So in this case, C3H8 is called propane, which is carbon-containing. And then again, ang given, meron kang oxygen. Now, kapag ka ganito, automatic combustion reaction yan and wala ka ng ibang products, ano na talaga yan siya, carbon dioxide plus water. Ay, hindi siya makasya. Kadyot, let me delete this one. Let's have it here na lang. C3H8 plus oxygen equals, wala ka ng ibang product, carbon dioxide lang, and water. So if you balance this, you only have 3 elements, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Ayan. Again, sa combustion reaction ha, hindi ka na mag-iisip ano yung magiging products, automatic carbon dioxide and water, and all you need to do is to balance the equation. Okay, on the other side, you have 1 carbon, 2 hydrogen, and 3 oxygen. Hindi siya balance. So let's try first the carbon since nauna siya dyan. Let's try to place 3 here. So this becomes 3, pero kasama niya si oxygen. So 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 here, this becomes 7. Okay? And then, what shall I do? I'll try to balance hydrogen because I cannot balance now the oxygen. So let's have the hydrogen next. I'll place 4 here so that this becomes 8. So the 2 is already balanced. But since naglagay ka ng 4 dyan, 3 times 2 is 6 plus this is 4 times 1 plus 4. This is equal to 10. Thus, oxygen becomes 10. Now I can balance it. I'll place 5 here. So 5 times 2 is equal to 10. So yes, the answer of the reporters is correct. You need 1 molecule of the propane plus 5 molecules of oxygen, yielding 3 molecules of carbon dioxide plus 4 molecules of water. That is the combustion reaction. Ginagamit natin yan pag nagsusunog tayo, nagluluto tayo, we need heat. Kasi actually, aside from the carbon dioxide and water, meron pa siyang isang product dyan. Yung triangle na yan is our representative for heat. Yan yung combustion reaction. Any questions sa number 5? Wala. So let's have number 6. Now number 6 class, as you can see, the given are 2 compounds. And that will give you a hint na this is a double displacement reaction. Kasi wala kang ibang compounds plus compounds sa mga example natin. Kanina sa synthesis, element plus element. Sa decomposition, isang compound lang talaga. Sa single replacement, element plus compound. And then sa combustion reaction, carbon-containing compound plus oxygen. This time, compound plus compound, double displacement na yan siya agad. So we will have here the exchange partner. So what are the given? Aluminum oxide plus your sodium chloride. Exchange partners sila class. And how are you going to do the exchange partners? You have to determine first the charges nila. Aluminum is positive 3, oxygen is negative 2, sodium is positive 1, chloride is negative 1. Kasi, remember in chemistry, opposite attracts. Hindi pwede na ang positively charged magpa-partner kay positively charged din. Again, opposite attracts, which means aluminum now will have the chloride. So you will have their AlCl. Yan muna ang gagawin natin ha. Please do not copy the subscript. We will check later if we really need a subscript or not. And then sodium will now partner with oxygen. And take note, kapag ka naglalagay ka ng chemical formula, always nauuna yung positively charged. So sodium will be written first before the oxygen. Yan yung steps ha. And then after that, you need to check whether your chemical formula is correct or not, just like for AlCl. Let's check whether we really need a subscript or not. Again, aluminum is positive 3, chloride is negative 1. So this is not equal to 0, which means we need to do the crisscross. Aluminum will have 1 and chlorine will have 3. This is the correct chemical formula for aluminum chloride. Now for sodium oxide, sodium is positive 1. And then oxygen is negative 2. This is not equal to 0. So yes, let us do the crisscross. Sodium will take the 2 while oxygen will only have 1. For 1, we don't need to write it really as the subscript. So we have predicted the products. We have made sure na tama yung chemical formula natin. The next step will be the balancing. So you have Al, O, Na, and Cl. Let's see if tama yung answers ng ating reporters. Al will be 2, oxygen 3, Na 1, Cl 1. On the other side, Al is 1, Cl is 3, sodium 2, and oxygen is 1. So again, when you do the balancing, trial and error tayo class, you can actually start anywhere. So just like this, nauna na si aluminum dyan. So let's start with aluminum. I'll place 2 here. This becomes 2. But kasama niya si chlorine. So 2 times 3, chlorine here will become 6. Now for oxygen, oxygen is 3 on the other side. On the other side, you'll have 1. So I'll try to place 3 here, which means oxygen will become 3. Pero kasama niya si sodium, so 3 times 2, sodium will become 6. So on the other side, I'll place 6 here, so that sodium will become 6 also. And since kasama niya si chlorine, chlorine will also become 6, and this is already balanced. So yes, tama yung answer ng ating reporters. 1 molecule of aluminum oxide plus 6 molecules of sodium chloride yielding 2 molecules of aluminum chloride plus 3 molecules of sodium oxide. Questions for this one? Questions for number 6? Wala. So let's move on. Or may gustong i-clarify? Wala? Okay. Now, this one, zinc sulfate plus hydrogen. This is another single replacement reaction. Single replacement kasi compound plus element. Now, nalaman na natin, single replacement siya. The next thing you need to do is to look at the activity series of metal. Alin ba ang nauna, si zinc or si hydrogen? Siyempre, nauna si zinc. Nasa baba si hydrogen. And that means, anong ibig sabihin yan? And that means na the reaction is not possible. So if you rewrite this, this is how it looks like. Zinc sulfate plus hydrogen. Hydrogen is a member of the diatomic molecules, kaya may 2 siya dyan. And this will be equal to Nr. Ganyan pala ang arrow niya. Again, this is NR, no reaction. Kasi again, nasa baba si hydrogen, nasa taas si zinc, hindi niya kayang palitan si zinc in this case. I hope that is clear. You ask question if you cannot understand something about the concept or the lesson. Now, number 8, compound plus compound. So this is correct, double displacement. Let's have the exchange partners. So this is iron 3 chloride, or we call this ferric chloride because of the 3 there. Iron is positive 3. And then sodium hydroxide. So if we do this, Fe is positive 3. How do I know na positive 3 siya? Remember, iron can be positive 2 or positive 3. But if we do the reverse crisscross, the 3 here is coming from the iron. So positive 3 siya. Chlorine is negative 1. Na is positive 1. And OH is a polyatomic ion with a charge of negative 1. Therefore, pag nag-exchange partners tayo, Fe will have the OH now. This will be FeOH plus Na will now partner with Cl. So this is NaCl. That's how you do the exchanging of partners. The next step is to look at their charges if we need class A subscript or not. So Fe and OH, positive 3 si Fe, OH is negative 1. Yes, we need to do the crisscross here, which means iron will have 1 and OH will take the 3. Now, since that is a polyatomic ion, we have to place it inside an open and close parenthesis and lagay natin ang 3 here as the subscript. Now, for sodium chloride, Na is positive 1. Fluoride is negative 1. So this is equal to 0. This is already correct. No need for a subscript. I hope that is clear. Now, Fe, Cl, Na, and again, I'll treat this as one entity kasi hindi naman siya nahiwalay sa product. Ang hydroxide sa reactant, hydroxide pa rin naman sa product. So we have 1 Fe, 3 Cl, 1 Na, 1 OH. On the other side, 1 Fe, 3 OH, 1 Na, and 1 Cl. So ang hindi pantay dyan, si chlorine and si hydroxide. So I'll try to start with chlorine since nauna naman na siya sa listahan. So I'll place 3 here. This becomes 3, but Na becomes 3 also kasi kasama niya siya dyan as compound. So hindi na balance yung sodium. So ilalagay ko dito 3 para maging 3 din siya sa kabila. Now kasama niya si OH class, which means OH becomes 3 also. So this time, this is already balanced. So yes, tama yung answers ng ating reporters. Questions for number 8? Anyone or any question here? Wala. So let's have the this one's the last set. So we have ammonium sulfate plus sodium carbonate. So compound plus compound pa rin. Compound plus compound. So yes, tama ito. Double displacement. Exchange tayo ng partner. So you have NH4, 2SO4, ammonium sulfate plus sodium bicarbonate. So before tayo mag-exchange ng partners, let's look at their charges first. Ammonium class is positive 1. Look at your index cards for polyatomic ions. Sulfate is negative 2. And then sodium, syempre, is positive 1. And HCO3, we call this bicarbonate or hydrogen carbonate. This is negative 1. So pag mag-exchange partner sila, ammonium will have the HCO3 now, and Na will be partnered with sulfate. Okay, now, na-exchange na natin. Next is to look at their charges again. NH4 is positive 1. and then bicarbonate is -1. This is equal to 0, thus we don't need a subscript. This is already correct. Again, we call it ammonium bicarbonate. Next, si NaNC sulfate. Na is +1, sulfate is -2. So, kailangan natin mag-criss-cross, which means sodium will take the 2. Kailangan may subscript siya dyan na 2. Okay, that's the third step. And the last step will be for the balancing of equations. So, yung magka-callback class sa balancing, ani, though it looks like a complicated one, pero actually hindi. Huwag nyo lang talaga paghiwalayin yung polyatomic ions kung hindi naman siya nahiwalay sa product. Kagaya ni ammonium. Ang ammonium sa reactant is still ammonium here sa product. So let's treat it as one entity. And the sulfate here is still sulfate on the other side. So that's one entity also. And then let's have the sodium. And take note, the bicarbonate is still bicarbonate here. Magkasama pa rin sila. So again, let's not separate the components of the polyatomic ions para hindi tayo mahirapan in the balancing. So ammonium here is 2. Sulfate is 1, sodium is 1, and bicarbonate is 1. Again, it's 1 only. Pag hindi, si polyatomic ion, pag hindi nakalagay inside an open and closed parenthesis, it's counted as 1 molecule. On the other side, 1 ammonium, 1 bicarbonate, 2 sodium, and 1 sulfate. So ang hindi balance dito I see ammonium. So I'll try to write 2 here. So this becomes 2. This has been balanced. But kasama niya si bicarbonate. So bicarbonate becomes 2 also. Now, anong gagawin ko? I'll try to balance sodium next. Since nasa next siya sa listahan, this is already balanced. I place 2 here. So this becomes 2. Pero kasama niya si bicarbonate. So bicarbonate also becomes 2. So this has been balanced. Bicarbonate is also balanced. So yes, tama ang sagot ng ating mga reporters. You have 2 and 2. 2 sodium bicarbonate and 2 ammonium bicarb. The rest are already balanced. Questions for number 9? Wala. So let's have the last one. The last one, class, we have here compound plus compound pa rin. Silver nitrate is a compound. And aluminum fluoride is also a compound. So this is also double displacement reaction. Exchange partners pa rin. Silver is +1. Nitrate, look at your index cards. Nitrate is -1. Aluminum belongs to group 3A in the periodic table. So this is +3. And fluorine is -1. So pag mag-exchange sila, silver will have the fluorine now. So this is AgF plus aluminum will have the nitrate. So AlNO3. Ayan, na-exchange na. After that, let us check whether your what do you call that? Chemical formula is correct. So AgF, Ag is +1, fluorine is -1. +1 plus -1 is equal to 0. So this is correct. We don't need a subscript for silver fluoride. Now for aluminum nitrate, aluminum is +3. Nitrate, take note, is -1 in your index cards there. So kailangan natin, class, crisscross. So aluminum will have 1, pero nitrate will take the 3. So ilagay natin siya inside an open and closed parenthesis, and let's write 3 here at the bottom. So that's the next step. We have made sure na tama na yung ating chemical formula. The last step will be the balancing. So you'll have silver, and then again, you have the nitrate. Ang nitrate dyan, nitrate pa rin naman sa kabila. So wag natin ihiwalay. Aluminum, and then fluorine. So let's have this one. silver is 1, nitrate is counted as 1, aluminum is 1, fluorine here is 3, on the other side 1 silver, 1 fluorine, 1 aluminum, 3 nitrate. So hindi sila balance. So I'll start with nitrate. Lagay ko dito 3. So this becomes 3 also. But kasama niya si silver, so silver becomes 3 also. Now, since hindi na na-balance si silver, I'll write 3 also here. So that silver becomes 3. So this is balanced, this is balanced. And sino kasama ni silver? Si fluorine. So fluorine becomes 3 also. So this is balanced. And fluorine has also been balanced. So yes, tama yung oops, kulang. Kulang ang answer ng reporter. Kulang siya ng 3 dito. But anyway, the rest is correct. 3 molecules of silver nitrate plus aluminum fluoride yielding 3 molecules of silver fluoride and 1 molecule of aluminum nitrate. So I think that's the end. That's the last one. I hope may natutunan kayo sa activity. But do you have questions or clarifications about our different types of chemical equation or chemical reaction? Anyone na may gustong i-clarify? Again, ang activity series of metal, gamitin nyo yung nauna si lithium. Walang question?